Good morning, good evening, good afternoon, and remember, Context is Everything Media Network founder and CEO John Michael is reading a self-help book. This self-help book is called Dissolving the Ego and Realizing the Self. We're on Chapter 7, Part 2 of Chapter 7, which is how the devotion to God and the truth can help in your dissolving of the ego and your realizing of the self. Enjoy the content. Give it a thumbs up. Give it a thumbs up. Give it a subscribe. John Michael of the Context is Everything Media Network says yes. Everyone already at a certain level knows that they are the ego, then quibbles about the details of definition. But the self is not fooled by the ruse. All false identifications can be dropped in an instant with the willingness to surrender all mental activities to God. Traditionally, the pathways to God have been through the heart: love, devotion, selfless service, surrender, worship, and adoration. Or through the mind: Advaita, or the pathway of non-duality. Each way may seem more comfortable at one stage or another, or they alternate in emphasis. Nevertheless, it is a hindrance to consider that there is a personal self, or an I, or an ego that is doing the striving or seeking, or that will become enlightened. It is much easier to realize there is no such thing as the ego or an I identity that is doing any seeking. Instead, it is an impersonal aspect of consciousness that is doing the exploring and seeking. The attachment to the I core of the ego is the belief that it is the source of one's life. So surrendering, it seems, though one is surrendering life itself to God. Questions arise as to the source of the capacity to even realize existence or beingness, and whether such qualities are innate or are superimpositions by silent paradigm presumptions. One asks, by what quality does the abstract even become discernible? And is not that knowingness itself merely a higher level of abstraction? Again, although these queries may seem academic to intellect experientially, they are a priority and profoundly transformative as the light of the levels of consciousness. At the highest levels, they represent the last clouds that hide the radiance of the sun of divinity. There is no inner thinker behind thoughts, no doer behind actions, and no seeker of enlightenment. Seeking occurs on its own when the time is right, and it emerges as a focus of attention. All aspects and qualities of consciousness are self-actuating and energizing, each other under the general direction of the will. Well, that's something, isn't it? In reality, everything is spontaneously manifesting the inherent destiny of the essence. It doesn't need any external help to do this. With humility, one can relinquish the ego's self-appointed role as a savior of the world, surrender it straight to God. The world that the ego pictures is a projection of its own illusions and arbitrary positionalities. No such world exists. Value from the ego's viewpoint is an emotional mentalization and reality does not require mentalization. With humility, one can honestly state and witness that everything merely is as it is, independent of projected worth. Its intrinsic value is that it is. Thusly, existence is complete within itself and is not needful of projected normalization as special. When the divine essence of all of the creation shines forth without obstruction, then the ego and mind goes silent in awe. The basic presumption of spiritual work and dedication is to transcend the innate evolutionary limitations of the ego and thereby develop the nascent capacity of consciousness itself, which bypasses all the limitations of the ego and self. Truth then presents itself by virtue of divine grace. Divinity reveals itself to those who call upon it in God's time. The pace of spiritual evolution can seem slow, but spiritual endeavor is never futile. Progress can become very sudden and very major in dimension and impact. Lots of profound insights in this chapter here. Probably my favorite chapter so far, which is kind of surprising because I didn't think it was going to be, based off of the title. Now, this is the Context is Everything Media Network. My name is John Michael at the Context is Everything Media Network, and I ask you please subscribe. Be passionate for God, not for belief systems. That is the only real decision that has to be made and can be applied to any and all situations. The question is always whether to be at the effect of the world or aligned with truth of God instead. The search for enlightenment is different from that of seeking worldly success. It is necessary to develop respect for spiritual endeavor. Straight and narrow is the path. Waste no time or effort. Precision is discipline. That is innate to serious commitment. Some students may yet be in a period of exploration, but once one gets the fire in the belly, the urge to reach God becomes the relentless drive, or even, in the eye of the world, a madness. From that point on, there is no patience for amusement or diversion. It depends on decision, will, and the level of consciousness and karmic propensities. As it gets more intense, the love for and of God allows no delay. All the truth that is necessary to know has already been spoken by actual beings on this planet. All great teachers proclaim the same truth, for there is none other. The radiance of the self within beckons one and provides the spiritual inspiration and strength. The presence of God within us is the source of one's existence. Therefore, to seek one's source is in accord with God's will. One's commitment should be to God and truth only. Teachers are to be respected, but devotion should be restricted to the truth. As Buddha said, put no head above your own. Meaning that one's only true guru is the self, the Buddha nature. The option for truth, peace, and joy is always available, although it's seemingly buried behind an ignorance and a non-awareness that results from having chosen other options as a habit of thought. The inner truth reveals itself when all other options are refused by surrender to God. Okay, that's it. Goodbye. God bless. Please subscribe. Have a good day.